time has come. Open up your eyes and see the sun. Open up your spirit.
Wake up, 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 Africa.
Hello and welcome to the Dr. Mumbi Show. We're here in Atlanta, Georgia. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. Guys are like, why do you always say your name? It's just a thing, guys. And today I'm here with my elder sister.
Yes. Proudly elder.
Yes, proudly elder. And we're going to do this a little differently. We're going to do kind of more of a conversation where I'll ask her a question, she'll ask me a question. But maybe you can just introduce yourself to our audience so they just know a bit about you.
I'm Rosalind McClymont. I'm the executive editor of the Network Journal and CEO publisher of AfricaStrictlyBusiness.com. I'm also an author. I'm the author of Middle Ground, which is said to be the first rebranding Africa novel. I wrote it while I was living in Kinshasa. And I'm also the author of Africa Strictly Business, The Steady March to Prosperity. And the third novel, my latest, is The Guyana Contract, the country where I was born.
Wow, that's absolutely amazing. My first question, and this is something I've been asking a lot, is what do you think of the situation that's happening on the African continent and in global Africa in terms of the awakening and the kind of the spiritual revival that is kind of underfoot?
I am very, very happy to see that, to know that it's happening. I'm fully invested in Africa.
Yeah.
I'm a Garveyite by philosophy, the philosophy and opinions of Marcus Garvey, which says Africa for the Africans at home and abroad. People like me, born abroad for generations. But I lived in Uganda and then in Kinshasa, Kinshasa, for several years. And my children were born in Kinshasa. Their father is Congolese. He's deceased now, but their father was Congolese, you see. And so I am fully invested, as they say. The navel is buried in
the African soul. Oh, right? Wow, yeah.
And so they have grandmothers, they have their shanghais, their aunts, their father's sisters, and so on and so forth. What is happening is good. It is timely. It is an Africa of resources that our children now need to benefit from. So this awakening that you talk of, Dr. Mumbi, it makes my heart sing.
Oh, amazing, amazing. Okay, you can ask me a question.
I can ask you a question. You and I have traveled similar life trajectories.
Yeah.
You've had that the European North American experience, higher education, socialization, born in a British colony.
Yes.
You were born when it was post-independence.
Yes.
I was born in British Guyana, now Guyana.
Yeah.
And so we've had that kind of socialization. We've had early careers. You sang. I taught in Africa. Now I'm a journalist, author.
Yeah.
Your influencers. Who are your influencers throughout that trajectory?
I think for me, my greatest influencer has been, first and foremost, my grandmother and my grandmother's generation. And, a lot of people forget that Africa actually, we've only been liberated for 50 years. Our independence, most African nations gained their independence roughly 50 years ago. And so it's 3 generations removed, which means the people who were in colonial Kenya are still, some of them are still living today, although they're slowly leaving us, and it's just, and that shows that our time to arise has come. But just knowing that they were the ones who triggered the revolution, who were part of the Mau Mau movement, and who really strengthened the Mau Mau movement, because the British never thought women were any good. So they didn't know that our grandmothers were the spies, were the military strategists, were the informers. They used to send their kids to go follow the soldiers around and get their information and then bring it back to them. And then they used to also take food to the forest to the men who were fighting and who had to be in the forest, and they'd leave them in strategic places. They used to buy food from other communities and trek days, 3-4 days, to go get corn and maize from other communities that they would then cook and supply to the men in the forest. And they also had a code of silence, because now we find out a lot was done to them. A lot of them were raped, a lot of them were abused, a lot of them watched their children die of hunger because they were removed from their farms, and just a lot of atrocities. But they had that code of silence where they didn't want that to infect us, to infect us with hatred and pain. Sometimes I wish they had told us more of what they endured, but I feel that they are the unsung heroes, because we are in a paternalistic or male dominated society, so they were kind of written out of history. But I think for me, what they did and how they fought with dignity, not for fame and glory, but for the true liberation of their people, and what they were willing to sacrifice is something that stays with me. But of course also, the Bob Marleys, he's the one who inspired me to actually become a reggae artist. Marcus Garvey as well, as you mentioned. I was like, there's a Garvey, that's amazing, yeah. And the Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr. So there's been a lot of influences, and I think it's almost like a school. When you start to awaken, there's certain great authors whose spirit, comes and connects and bonds with yours through their books, through their music, etc. Yeah.
But that spirit of the women, that fighting spirit,
yes,
it was carried right over into the Americas, into the Caribbean, into South America, because it is women who led a lot of the rebellions, the slave rebellions, led by women, even coming down to the 20th century. Rosa Parks,
yes,
you've heard, it's the women.
Yes.
That fighting spirit never died in crossing the Atlantic Ocean.
Yes.
So in the Caribbean, we have our female warriors also.
Oh, wow.
In the United States, we have our female warriors also, who led slave rebellions, who did precisely what you did. The Underground Railroad, you must have heard of that. Woman-led, you see? And so it is good to know that your influencers also were not just influencers from Africa, the continent, directly, but also from the diaspora, from the Caribbean, as well as from North America. So you are truly a globalist
yes,
African, or a
global African.
Yes,
globalist.
I know you don't like that word. That's anathema to
yes, I'm like, oh my God, you will know that. No, yeah,
no,
global
you're not
African.
going down like that.
Yeah.
You're a global African, which is something that we need. So now we know what's wrong with Africa.
Yeah.
We know all of the negatives. But let's talk about some of the uplifting things that are going on.
Okay.
The positive. So reel them off for me.
And then you can tell me some
And
of
I'll
yours.
tell you
Yeah.
some too.
So for me, some of the amazing things is that 65% of Africa is youth, which means that they don't have, it's in our DNA, but they don't have some of the colonial and psychological bondage that our generations and our mothers' generations and our grandmother's generation have had to endure. They are almost like a clean slate that is ready to, that can really shift back, that can shift back into a new Africa, with the past in mind, with the past knowledge in mind. So that's exciting to me. I also feel like there is a renaissance going on, a renaissance of spirit, a renaissance in our economic, a renaissance of ideas, a renaissance in education, where people are not just awakening to themselves, but they're awakening to their true identity and how powerful that identity is. And we see it with small indicators. One of the indicators is there's a huge natural hair movement, whereas before everyone used to straighten their hair. It seems like a small thing, but it's actually very significant, where more and more women are going natural, leaving the weave, leaving the, the braids, or well, here I am, but leaving the chemicals and everything and kind of going natural. There's also there's a reigniting to kind of, study who our ancestors were, etc. There's also a renaissance of ideas, where a lot of new things are coming, especially with social media. In Kenya, you've heard how Kenya, a lot of the apps, like even the money app and how money is transferred, originated from Kenya. There's an electric car that was designed by I think it's a Zambian scientist. So there's a lot of amazing things. I just got a tweet about a Zambian doctor in South Africa who's just found a cure for malaria that you put on before, like, and it's just a cream, natural, whatever. So you see, there's a lot happening in terms of divine deposits of ideas and stuff.
That's interesting you talk about, this is just a quick aside.
Yeah.
That malaria thing, my next novel, which I've already started,
Yeah.
has to do with the search for a malaria vaccine.
Really?
And all the intrigue that goes with that. So let's put that aside. But in terms of some of the really positive things, in the diaspora itself, you're seeing a connection now between children of direct African descent,
Yes.
children of African immigrants from the continent,
Yeah.
who are growing up, let's say, in the United States,
Yes.
which is where I'm based.
Yes.
Growing up in the United States and bonding with brothers and sisters, young people their age group here.
Yeah.
That tightness, that
That's
closeness that
amazing.
you're seeing,
Yeah.
and the copying of the fashions. You've probably heard of Face to Face Africa.
Yes.
Those young people, Sandra and,
Yeah.
and Isaac, they're really doing wonderful things to bring that African culture. Now it's not a matter of I'm not African.
Yeah.
I am
African. And
I
that's
wear
a
these
huge,
clothing.
yes.
That's a mental thing, because once you
Yes.
start, as you know, you talk about in your shows the mindset.
Yes.
Once you begin to accept who you are culturally and then become proud of it and let it determine your path now, not to have antagonism towards others,
Yes.
but to just elevate yourself.
Yes.
That is something that is very, very powerful. We're also seeing a brain gain.
Yes.
Not
yes.
just Africans, children of immigrants going back with their education, hopefully the right education.
Yes.
You worry about that,
Yeah.
I know, we all do. But you're seeing people going back, those of, children like mine who are half Caribbean, half American,
Yeah.
half, African, Congolese, who are taking a deeper and deeper interest, investing
Wow,
in
yes.
Africa mentally as well as physically. And that's a powerful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think, like having seen, I can't even imagine, like being there from when Guyana was still colonized to where we are now, so much has shifted.
Yes.
What do you see as the key ingredient or the key factor for the liberation of the global African people?
It's got to be mental first.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have to go back to our roots. Where I was born, in my country, Guyana, for example, you have the Indo-Guyanese who are really coming into their own culture and celebrating it and practicing it, dances and so much more than before.
Yeah.
Among the Afro-Guyanese, you see the same thing. The clothing, you would think you're in Africa itself,
Yeah.
the clothing that they wear and the celebrations that they have. And then because it is Guyanese, all these cultures coming together, you have a unique Guyanese culture that blends everything.
Yeah.
But I see that. But the ingredient for the elevation of Africa, for what the Africa that we both want to
Yes,
see,
yes.
we have to go back to our root values.
Yes.
Our root values, not just the superficial.
Yeah.
The kitenge that we
yeah,
wear,
yeah,
we call
yeah.
the man the Muzungu and this kind
Yeah.
of thing. But how we think,
Yes.
how we see the world, and how we define our path. And that comes from the indoctrination, and I use that
Yeah.
word deliberately because that's what we've been getting but
Yes.
from the other side.
Yes.
But we need a root African indoctrination, which takes us back to our philosophy of God,
Yes.
the Supreme Force, our
Yes.
philosophy
Yes.
of life.
Yes.
How we raise our children to be good citizens of the world and of our society, of
Yes.
our country, of our continent. You see.
Yeah.
So those values, no one can teach you but those older African
Yes.
folks, some of whom are still around
Yes,
from those days.
yes.
We need to have that dialogue with those elders
Yeah.
so that those values are not lost, as they can be in an era of social media technology.
Yes, where there's so much information that you're almost
Exactly.
being overloaded, so you can't tap into what's important. And okay, sorry, we have to wind up, but what you talked about, the centers.
Yes.
We in our earlier conversation, you talked, and I really liked this idea of the importance of having African centers or something because of other communities that do that. Maybe you can
Other
expound.
communities do that. On the weekends in the United States, for example, when we, the Westerners, are out of school, you have the Jewish people who have their weekend schools where they're immersed in their own culture, their language, their history. The Koreans do the same thing. The Chinese do the same thing. They go to regular school, but on the weekends, it is time for us to remember who we are and to immerse ourselves. Why can't we have that for our African children?
Yes.
In Africa to begin with, and outside in the United States, in the Caribbean, wherever. But beginning in Africa, centers of root learning, where we go back to that. Not only in just the education, but in taking care of our bodies, our physical vessels, as you call them, so that our minds are even sharper. The exercising, our diet, all of those things, where we as a culture reclaim our humanness, our Africanness, our spiritualness. All of that comes, it's the body, the mind, and the soul.
Oh, powerful, powerful. And you know, it's already happening in Kenya. Like the Agikoyo community, we've actually started, okay, it's only started with the boys, where the boys now go through an initiation. But yes, we need African centers, and we are going to have more conversations.
Yes,
unfortunately, we've run out of time, but definitely check out, you know, Strictly African Business, right?
AfricaStrictlyBusiness.com.
Yes.
And the networkjournal.com, which is both a print and an online publication.
Oh, it's so lovely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
2 generations.
Yes, imagine. That's so powerful. Yes. That's so powerful. Love you guys. Mwah.
Oh, come, Emmanuel, and ransom captive Israel.